The Lake District, home of England's largest mountain range, 16 largest lakes, and a history that can be dated back 12,000 years. This vast national park is home to tens of thousands of people and animals alike, with this number increasing every year. According to the Lake District facts and figures, tourism is the main source of income in this area, with nearly 20 million people visiting the lakes in 2018. This place is an incredible escape for many around the world, and I'm keen to know how this area has been affected with the decline and rapid rise of tourism during the COVID-19 pandemic. 2020, the year that completely flipped the world upside down. The pandemic loomed over us all, causing us to completely change our way of living. This meant staying at home, not working, not seeing friends or family, or even having holidays abroad. Although during this time, there were actual breaks in lockdown, in which we were allowed to go back to some sort of normality, meaning we could see some friends, we could see some family, and we could even have staycations as it was dubbed. It was during this time that tourism in England absolutely skyrocketed, with people from all over the country going to England's most rural areas, such as the Yorkshire Dales or the Lake District. Even myself, I was in the lakes a lot over the summer, hiking and camping with friends, taking advantage of the hospitality that places like this had to offer, like many of us did. But it was while I was away, I noticed that the most touristy areas, such as Coniston, Windermere, or even mountain routes, were packed full of people, not social distancing, or even wearing masks. To these people, the pandemic didn't exist, and they treated it as such. This is what led me to the topic of my dissertation and finding out how tourism has actually affected this area during the pandemic. I reached out to organisations in the lakes to speak to them about their experience during this time. This led to me speaking with John Carlin, Secretary and spokesperson for the 12 Lake District teams for the Lake District Search and Mountain Rescue Association. He gave his insights on the rise in tourism and the possibilities this can have on the lakes in the future. He also spoke on the impacts in this area in regards to the lack of services being provided, even though there was an influx of tourism during this time.
With sudden influx of people, a lot of businesses had shut down and they decided not to reopen during the summer months for whatever reason. So we had a huge increase in people and a decrease in the service that was available to them, which caused pressure on the other services that were open, whether that was restaurateurs, cafes, and such like, and other vendors, to some of the shops that had reduced capacity because of social distancing within their premises. They're not large department stores, they're not large shopping centres. These are small, quirky local shops, street shops, with a single entrance. And so they found it very difficult to manage the social distancing that was required with the increase of capacity on top of what would normally be expected in a busy period. So it caused significant problems. But they were willing to try and overcome those just because of the desperate need of local businesses to get footfall in their shops and increase, get the local economy turning over, basically.
I wasn't really surprised to hear this. Local business trying to remain open, especially during their busiest periods of the year. It was clear to me after hearing this that the locals in this area were willing to do whatever it would take to keep their way of life thriving. And it makes sense, considering that the majority of the income in the Lake District is actually based on tourism, and for some people in this area, this was their only viable option. This conversation then led into how it's been detrimental with the influx of ill-prepared hikers coming to this area.
During the summer months, busiest period in the year is usually August, when the masses descend upon the Lake District. Lockdown finished just before then, and we had a huge increase. We experienced a 50% increase year on year for our August call-out rate. The similar thing happened in December after the November lockdown. The beginning of January this year, we also had a 50% increase for the first week of the year, as everybody wanted to carry on escaping from the temporary suspension of lockdown over the Christmas period. But as soon as lockdown came again, then again the call outs subsided.
After my conversation with John, I wanted to understand the other side of the story, with the impact the pandemic has had on the business in these areas, and also the rise in tourism having an economic impact in the lakes in regards to hospitality, an area which has been suffering since the beginning of lockdown. I decided to speak with Miguel Sanchez, manager of the Windermere Hotel. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good. Just getting ready for reopening. So,
Explain how the pandemic has actually affected your business.
well, actually, this hotel went into administration during the first lockdown. So we all lost our jobs, not just myself. It was a company called Seedings Holidays. So more than 3,000 people lost their jobs back in May last year. So we are open again because another company picked up the hotel side of business. So thanks to that, now around 40 hotels are going to be reopened of the old company. So as you can imagine, it affected us in a massive way because we lost our jobs, we lost our livelihood, and it was more the uncertainty of not knowing what was around the corner, really.
It's clear to me after speaking with Miguel that the hospitality sector in this area was absolutely devastated. Although, luckily for Miguel, another company actually picked up his hotel so that he and his employees could stay on during this time. But for others in this area, they weren't so lucky. According to Miguel, a further 3,000 people in the area had actually lost their jobs. That's 3,000 people who have lost their income, and some have even lost their homes. After this, I was very keen to understand what business was like for Miguel. Bear in mind, this was the first time he had been open since the beginning of the pandemic. So during the summer months then, when there was an influx of tourism coming to these areas, because we were on a quarantine break, were you functioning then or not?
We were indeed. And to be honest, I've been working in Windermere around 9 years, and I never seen such a high amount of people in this area in 9 years. So it was crazy. It was beautiful because it was nice to see after so many months of empty streets and the empty hotels and empty businesses, to see queues literally in every single restaurant. I mean, the hotel was 100% occupancy pretty much all the way through from August to October, and when we closed. So we can say that the average day occupancy was 98, 99%. And we have a pub also in the hotel, and the pub was, again, every table was fully booked every single day. So pretty much the whole summer. So it was strange because after being so many months without working, getting into that, it was a bit strange and it was challenging at some point, but it was very good. It was very, very good.
Since starting this project, I've wanted to understand how tourism has actually affected this area during the pandemic. I've spoken to hospitality and I've spoken to members of Mountain Rescue. Sadly, during this time, there has actually been an incident involving a 60-year-old member of Mountain Rescue, Chris Lewis, who has tragically fell 150 metres trying to escort 2 lockdown breakers off a mountain. He's currently in hospital facing life-changing injuries. Because of this, I wanted to understand the opinion of Mountain Rescue with people coming to this area when they've actually been advised to stay home during lockdown. So how have you been? Have you been okay?
Yeah, it's been all right. There's been a few ups and downs recently.
Okay, how so?
Did you hear about one of the Lakes teams, people having an injury on one of their rescues?
Chris Lewis.
That's the one, yeah.
That was one of the talking points today, actually.
Yeah.
How was he?
Well, he's not in a good way. There'll be life-changing injuries.
One of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you today, actually, about the Chris Lewis incident.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to get pretty much your opinion on people going to the lakes when they shouldn't have been, and then a situation like this that has been described as unavoidable.
The party line is obviously what was in the news, which was it was avoidable, but obviously this incident could have happened at any time of year under normal circumstances. People camp out in all sorts of strange environments and consequently need help when in the middle of the night they realise they're come unstuck in some way. So it was a regular mountain rescue job. It shouldn't have happened in that they shouldn't have been there, and that's the view of the organisation. And so in that respect, it was avoidable.
Like, of the Patterdale team, what would you say their opinion is of the situation, if you spoke to them?
I can only give you what their official line is, which they're disappointed with the actions of the individuals, that they regret the incident entirely because of the fact they shouldn't have been there. It was avoidable, but mountain rescue personnel put themselves into all sorts of situations every day of the year, COVID or no.
It was clear to me after speaking with these people that the Lake District has been through so much during this time. But after witnessing firsthand the people of this area push on through this pandemic, makes me understand why this area has such a rich history and why even a global pandemic couldn't break the spirit of life by the lakes.